Hello everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. Today I thought we would put together an arrangement in somewhat of a farmhouse style. I have got this pretty, I guess it's a watering pitcher, but it is made out of galvanized tin. Now it does have a small liner dropped right down into this container, and it is filled with water. Anytime you're working with a tin container, most often they are not watertight. So you need some type of liner to add down into the container. And this container actually came with a liner, so that was very nice. I have added fresh water, and I thought we would just make a pretty arrangement that includes a stem of cotton. So one of our followers asked if I would make an arrangement that included cotton. So that's what we're gonna do today. I am starting out with just a little bit of foliage. So the foliage I have today is called Israeli ruscus, and then a little bit of silver dollar eucalyptus. We'll start with the Israeli ruscus, and then at the end we'll add our eucalyptus. I'm going to strip off the bottom leaves, pull my garbage can to me. I'm taking my floral knife, cutting that stem at an angle, and I am just adding a little bit, not too much, but a little bit of foliage into my container. Now this container would be perfect on like a farmhouse table. You could even do this in artificial blooms, in faux flowers, so that you could keep it on like a buffet. But this is kind of a fun container. All right, so there's a little bit of our Israeli ruscus. Next I'm going to come in with some bells of Ireland. So if you watch me, you know bells of Ireland are some of my favorite flowers, but it's been a long time since I could get my hands on it. I'm going to take this bell and I'm going to pinch the tip right out. I don't know if you can see it, but it has a little leaf at the top. I'm going to pinch that right out. Now for me, I just don't love the look of the greenery at the tip, so I pull that out. And let me tell you another reason we pull it out. I'm going to take my floral knife, cut that stem at an angle, and tuck that right into my container. Another reason you might want to pinch the foliage out of the top of that flower is because you can see a bell has a little bit of a bend to it. It's kind of bending, right? That is going to help cause that bell to stand up straight, and so it doesn't have all that little bend. I'm removing some of the little blooms down at the bottom because I wanted to cut my stem a little shorter. So I'm going to tuck that right in. I'm going to take one more stem, pinch that tip out, strip those blooms off the bottom, cut it at an angle, and tuck him right into that water. Okay, so there are 3 bells of Ireland. Let me tell you the reason I'm using 3 versus just 2. When you use 2, odd numbers often look best. Visually, they look better than even numbers. And okay, so the reason I chose to use odd numbers here with this line flower is because quite often when you only use 2 lines, it looks like antenna on a bug. And so those odd numbers really visually look more pleasing to the eye, okay? Now, I am one that will break rules often when it comes to design, but when you're using line flowers, always stand back, always look and make sure that your flower arrangement doesn't look like an insect, okay? And when I say that, I promise you'll see it the next time you make a flower arrangement, that when you only put 2 lines in, I promise you'll see it. You'll go, oh, I recall Monty saying that it looked like a bug. Now I am going to use just 1 stem of cotton, and the reason I'm only using 1 stem is because it has lots of small pieces coming off, and so I thought 1 stem is plenty in this arrangement, and I didn't want an overkill of cotton. I'm taking my stem, using some some snips and I cut a little bit of that stem off. And I'm just nestling it right down into the center of those bells of Ireland. Next, we're going to come in with some mums. So I've got some large white mums, and I'm also going to use odd numbers. I'm going to use 3 mums, and the reason in using odd numbers with your large flowers is because they'll look like eyes looking back. So you always have to be careful with that. I'm going to take that stem, I'm going to cut it at an angle, and I'm going to remove any of the foliage that might fall below that water line. I'm going to put my first large bloom toward the bottom of that arrangement, okay? And then my next one, I'm going to kind of figure out exactly where I want it in the arrangement. So I think about there. So I'm going to take it, cut that stem, and tuck him right in. Now when cutting your flowers, always be careful and don't cut too much off the stem. I would always leave it too long versus too short. Now I'm going to turn around my arrangement, and I think I'm going to put my third bloom right back here on the back because I want the back to be pretty too. So I'm going to take that third bloom, cut that stem at an angle, and I am going to tuck him right there in the back of that arrangement. So it's pretty back there too. All right, so there are our white mums, our cotton, and our bells of Ireland. I have some pretty white roses. Now this variety of rose is called a white mandal. Mandal comes in white and it comes in pink. I'm going to take a little wire. I have a little piece of florist wire, and I'm going to go ahead and wire the head of that flower. I'm pressing that wire right there into the calyx, which is the swollen part below the rose, and I am twisting that wire right around that stem. Now what that's going to do is just guarantee that my little rose is going to stand up pretty for me, and I don't have to worry about if he doesn't get enough water, his head dipping. I'm going to take my floral knife, cut that stem at an angle. I'm going to turn my arrangement, and I am going to tuck him, I'm going to nestle him right in here beside the cotton. So I've kind of tucked him right up here. Next we're going to take our second rose, cut it at an angle, and tuck him a little lower in this arrangement. So I've tucked that second one there. And he's not really showing, so I'm going to adjust him just a little bit. And then my third rose, I'm going to tuck him right back here with my third mum. So he's right back there. And with this cotton, the nice thing is you can kind of adjust it and move it wherever it needs to be. Okay, to finish this arrangement, we had some beautiful Queen Anne's lace, which is pretty large, but I thought it's kind of an interesting, almost a pod looking flower. Now this is Queen Anne's lace that we ordered from our wholesaler, and I'm going to take it and kind of tuck it right down here low in this arrangement. I'm going to take another bloom. I'm going to see if I can find a smaller bloom. And I think I'm going to put him a little higher in this arrangement. I'm going to put him right in there. So really you're going to stand back and you're going to look and see if these flowers are where you want them. If they're not, you can always move them around. So see how pretty that Queen Anne's lace is? And then I'm going to take a third stem and I'm going to tuck it right back here, right over here to this side. So I'm just filling it up. This Queen Anne's lace is a little heavier than the Queen Anne's lace that I harvested. It's much larger, fuller blooms. It's really pretty. All right, so last we're gonna add just a little of our eucalyptus to give us a little bit of movement in this arrangement. So, and it's gonna kind of soften this edge so it's not such a harsh edge. I'm gonna take my floral knife, I'm cutting that rubber band that was on those stems. I'm gonna take that stem, cut it at an angle. Tuck a little bit of that eucalyptus right down in to give us a little bit of movement. I like the color of the eucalyptus also because it kind of pulls the gray from our container into the arrangement. All right, and there we have a farm style arrangement using a faux stem of cotton. Now remember, when making any fresh arrangement, you can always use artificial stems. Don't feel like you can't mix and match. Honestly, it's a wonderful thing to be able to mix and match, in my opinion. There are times there are seasons where there may not be anything blooming outside and you want to just add some pretty cut foliage from your yard, add a few faux or artificial blooms, and it makes for such a lovely arrangement on your table. So feel free to go ahead and add artificial blooms to your arrangement. And also, when making a pretty arrangement that's going to sit on a table, be sure to add a few blooms on the back. Even if you're going to make it to send to a friend or for your flower shop, always add a bloom or two. They don't necessarily have to be the fanciest blooms, but add a bloom or two on the back of the arrangement so it's not just a one-sided arrangement. It makes it where it's pretty all the way around. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about how we do things here at our shop, you know you certainly can ask those questions. We're so happy to answer. Thank you so much for being here this afternoon, and we will see you all real soon. Thanks, guys.